About a year or two ago, actually it'll be 2 years ago this August, I put up a video called Reizen Talking Atomic Clock. Well, within the last year, they've taken that clock and created a baby version of it. So, it's pretty much the same clock. So if I tap the top button here,
the time is now 33 minutes past 12 a.m.
and if I press it twice,
Today's Friday, April 29th. The time is now 34 minutes past 12 a.m.
and now I know it may be a little hard to see. I'm trying to get the display in the light. On the left-hand side, you have the time. In the center, you have your date and day of week. And on the right-hand side, you have your alarm. And when you push the top talk bar,
the time is now 34 minutes past 12 a.m.
For about a second or 2 seconds, you have a nice orange backlight. On the left-hand side of the clock is a secondary talk button.
The time is now 34 minutes past 12 a.m.
Behind that, you'll feel an oval switch with 2 notches. Again, this is along the left-hand side of the clock. The talk snooze button sticks out considerably. It is very pronounced. You can also feel a right-hand pointing triangle, kind of like a play button. Behind that, you have a little oval switch with 2 notches in it. This switch is a 3-position switch. Right now it is on the off position. It is in the middle 2 of 3 positions. If I move it towards the front,
alarm will be on at 12 midnight.
And if I switch it back off, you'll notice it doesn't say anything. Again, the 2 of the 3 positions in the middle. If I close it, if I switch it towards the back of the clock, which you'll be able to tell because the back is round and also has some controls on it we'll get to in a moment, and the front is flat. So if I move the middle switch along the left-hand side towards the back of the clock,
announcement on.
The hourly report is now on. And then behind that, you'll feel 2 circles. These 2 circles, you could probably feel a plus and a minus. This is your up and down button. If I push one of these buttons, it doesn't matter which one.
Alarm set.
And you can see that your alarm time blinks on the right-hand side.
Alarm set. 1 minute to midnight. 12 midnight.
Press and hold to advance the time quickly.
1 a.m.
Okay, so we'll just leave it there. So this is your set button. It just sets the alarm and the time manually. Along the back, you've got 3 controls. On the left-hand side, you'll feel a round switch, or a round button, with a little indent in it. Pressing this button will initiate the manual receive mode. If you press and hold this button,
setting year,
and you continue through the setting procedure.
Setting date. Setting time zone. Setting time. Setting complete.
And you use the up and down arrows on the left-hand side to advance any one of those options forward or backward. In the center on the back, you'll feel a switch with 2 ridges in it. This is your volume control. You move it towards the right to lower the volume.
The time is now 37 minutes past 12 a.m.
And towards the left to raise the volume.
The time is now 38 minutes past 12 a.m.
To the right of that, you'll feel a 3rd switch with 1 notch. This is your lock and unlock key. This is honestly one of the greatest improvements they've made to the design since the original desktop variant of this clock, which again, if you go to my channel and you search for Reizen Talking Atomic Clock, or if you search for Reizen Talking Atomic Clock on YouTube, you'll be able to get to the desktop variant of that clock. So again, this is your lock switch. If you move it to the left, the controls are now locked. You'll notice if I push any of the buttons, nothing happens, with the exception of the side switch here.
Alarm will be on at 1 a.m. Announcement on.
And the round button on the left-hand side.
The time is now 39 minutes past 12 a.m.
But if I push the top bar, nothing happens. So again, the only buttons that are unlocked are the side selector switch on the left-hand side and the button in front of that.
The time is now 39 minutes past 12 a.m. Today's Friday, April 29th.
So I'm going to unlock this. That's all there is to it, really. Again, over the original design, they've made a number of improvements. That lock switch is one of them. The other improvement they've made...
The time is now 40 minutes past 12 a.m.
is the built-in backlight for the display. Now, if you have some usable vision, you might be able to see this if you angle it properly. But if that backlight's not on...
The time is now 40 minutes past 12 a.m.
It's pretty much impossible to see. On the upside, all the buttons are bright orange, assuming you order this from Maxi Aids. If you order this from LS&S, the buttons along the side are going to be black, which I think's a bit of a crock, but whatever. Anyway, the other thing that I like about this variant is that this is a travel clock. I'm going to be going to see my girlfriend graduating in about 2 weeks. Her visit is the reason I got this clock, because I wanted something light that I could travel with that I knew how to use. Also, I have a family member who might be graduating in December from another university, at which time I will be taking this with me. Because again, it's a lot better to have, if you ask me, it's a lot better to have your own clock and know how to use it, and one that, you know, that talks and that is tactile and accessible, versus a clock radio that you don't know how to set for beans. On the bottom is your battery compartment. It's kind of odd, actually. And I say that because there's a little orange reset button towards the back. On the left-hand side, if you have the controls along the left-hand side are furthest away from you, and the right-hand side of the clock is smooth. That would be immediately to your left. In that instance, the battery compartment is on your left-hand side. The clock requires 2 AAA batteries, but here's the interesting part. For those of you who cannot see, the battery compartment only takes up about maybe a quarter, or, yeah, roughly a quarter, not even a quarter, of the real estate. Immediately to the right of the battery compartment is a little round reset button. But the rest of this is blank, which is just odd. So I'm going to put this back on. So, again,
The time is now 43 minutes past 12 a.m.
So that is the baby talking Reizen atomic clock. However, if you give me just a moment, we're going to do a comparison between this one and the other one. I didn't put that into the description because I wanted it to be a surprise. Now, this one I've only had for less than a day, so it's not been able to receive a signal. I've tried to synchronize it to this one as best I can. However, like I said,
The time is now 43 minutes past 12 a.m. The time is now 43 minutes past 12 a.m.
pretty much the same. It's exactly the same clock, just in a different shell. For those of you that can see, you can tell that the baby version of this clock is a lot smaller than the desktop variant. But it's got the same controls. It's got the same up and down set keys, which on the desktop variant are displayed with arrows. On the travel variant are displayed with the plus and minus. You have the exact same selector switch.
Alarm will be on at 11 a.m. Alarm will be on at 1 a.m. Announcement on. Announcement on.
And again, and like I said before, on the back, the exact same controls for volume and setting. The only variance between these two clocks, besides the obvious, travel versus desktop emphasis, is this one has a secondary talk key. And I can see where this would come in handy if you have your keys locked, or if you're the kind of person who maybe this bar on the top is kind of hard to feel unless you really know what you're looking for. So if you're half asleep, I can see where the side talk key may actually be a better deal. And also this one has, like I showed you before, the ability to lock the controls. The desktop variant does not. Other than that, they are literally the exact same clock. And they are both, I think, great buys. You can't go wrong with either one of them.
The time is now 14 minutes to 1 a.m. The time is now 14 minutes to 1 a.m.
So, either one of them I would say is a buy. If you travel a lot, say for business or pleasure or whatever, or if you just have a small nightstand, I would recommend this one, the smaller one. If I had to liken this one to anything, it would be probably an old clock radio, if you can believe that. I grew up in the 90s. I was around when the bar-style clock radios were in the hotel rooms, and they still are today. Those really tiny little things. So, yeah. Oh, the only other difference, again, in case pretty sure I pointed this out, but the backlight. The desktop variant does not have that. Other than that, and the fact that one of them takes double and the other takes triple A's, you got the lock feature. On the smaller one, you got the high contrast buttons. The speaker on this travel variant is on the top, whereas on the desktop it's on the back. But that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching. Comments are welcome, and have a nice day.